Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle. I will not be joined by Reed this evening, but also joined by co-host Michael Hall. The title of tonight's episode is The 70, meaning the 70 players overall on the team. Obviously, the Commanders have not gotten up to that 70 mark, but we have so much to talk about. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. And we are rejoined by a very special guest, the man himself, Mr. Anthony Armstrong. Thank you so much for blessing us on this Wednesday evening, sir. How are you doing?
Man, I am good, man. I am good. I've got I had some gnarly real estate deals that I was going through over the
There
summer,
you go.
and they had me acting out of my mind. Like I would have had personal fouls on the field. If you know what I mean. You're like, that's not Armstrong. Why is he doing that? That's how I was getting pressed. So they closed and they're behind me now, and we can take a deep breath. So I appreciate that applause there, man. So I'm feeling a lot better that that's past that, but then I also know I can add to my resume. Like that's experience.
So that
Uh,
so that means
it's
that we bought
tough.
some extra time with you tonight.
Just a couple minutes, just a couple seconds. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and Anthony, it being cut day, there's so much to talk about. Obviously, the Commander sent away John Ridgway, but we don't need to get into that just yet. But question, what's the biggest surprise that you saw on the initial 53-man roster?
Man, the biggest surprise I think that you saw was the trade of Jahan Dotson. I think that was probably my biggest surprise, because that was getting to be a position where you're like, okay, how is this going to play out? There's a lot of people that are making some noise, um, and it ended up being that they went ahead and moved on from Jahan. So I think that's the biggest surprise. Uh, seeing McNichols, him in there at the three is going to be interesting how that running back room plays out. Or is just everybody does something slightly different.
Mm.
So seeing how that plays out will be something. Um, and shoot, outside of that, man, everything else kind of hit like I was expecting. Um, Interested to see. I didn't, I had KJ Henry making the team. He didn't get on there, so that may have been one, but slowly but surely, they're just taking, getting the folks from previous regimes up out of here.
Yeah, and credit to KJ Henry. He performed well in that last preseason game, of course, and now he's going to Cincinnati where he's signed to be on that defensive line. Hopefully, he gets a lot more snaps there. What's going on, Hall?
What's going on, guys? Just kind of sticking with that wide receiver group. Are you surprised that they didn't kind of add to that group or kind of add somebody else to that group when
They
there's a lot of
just did.
unproven guys? Oh, did they really?
Yeah, we
They
signed Noah
just did.
Brown.
Oh, okay, well, good. That's the guy I actually wanted then. So
There you
to
go.
kind of switch that question up, then, what is a guy like Noah Brown going to bring to this wide receiver room? And do you think that Diami is ready to kind of take that next step that we've been kind of waiting on for the last 2, 3 years?
For sure. Number one, nice haircut, Mikey. Looking good.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Number
Couldn't even
two,
tell.
they added in added Noah Brown. These are guys going to give you special teams help. He's started in this league. He's been with Dallas, so he's going to have a little extra juice whenever it comes to playing Dallas. So he'll buy into that as well. But you're going to get special teams help. You're going to get a guy that brings some more physicality to that position. And I was just thinking that the receiver room is really coming down to be more of it's Terry and then everybody else we finna all chip in and go. Right. I was saying on my show, I need Terry to get 1,300 yards and double-digit touchdowns this year. And that's just based off of the amount of targets and like how Cliff is going to get Terry into positions to catch easy passes and run after the catch. That's what I'm looking for from Terry. I still think Diami can have success in it, and is going to make impacts. And you talked about it. He's shown so much growth in the few reps that I've been able to see just in preseason games and practices. He's made so much growth, like the deep ball and the technique of holding himself square and You could tell the guy's been working,
Mm.
and he's got a connection with the quarterback. And if anything's the more important is being on the same page with the guy who's going to throw the rock. So you have him, speaking for you. And honestly, he's probably one of the few guys. And I think Noah Brown brings some deep speed to the game, but Diami's the deep threat, right? Outside of him, yeah, Byron Pringle has some speed, but Byron Pringle's not going to be on the field enough snaps to where you're going to be able to kind of, sneak something in there where you can get behind somebody. So I think he's going to be able to make an impact with his speed.
Yeah, and Anthony, it's really awesome to have you on today, in particular with cut day, with the practice squad being accumulated, because obviously you were there before. You know what it's like. You've been through the grind in the NFL, worked your butt off, and able to come and actually get starting reps for the Redskins and perform big. I mean, I have one of your touchdown catches sitting behind my laptop here. So, kind of talk to us as fans. It's hard to kind of understand. Like, we all think that the NFL is glorious, like but it really is hard to make it in the NFL. Not only just make it, but be able to perform at a high level. So, kind of talk to us about that practice squad kind of situation, the process of it all, and what it's like going through it.
Man, being on the practice squad it's a secret blessing to start off with. It's one of those scenarios where, yeah, you want to play, but you get to work against the best that's on the field. You're servicing the ones on offense or on defense. So it's a chance for you to get better, really hone your craft and just understand you're not that far away. But cut day is so difficult just because of the emotions that are built up in it. Like all off season, you've been training with these guys. I said it before, you're training with folks, like you're making connections. Some of y'all have been like roommates and shacking up, you know what I mean? Like, hey man, let's just split a house and we renting, you know what I mean? Like you're becoming having a brotherhood with these folks. And then cut day comes and it's like, hey, what happened to so and so? They're like, oh, they got him. And you're
Hmm.
like, damn. So like sometimes you don't get to say bye. It's a gloomy day, in the building whenever you're just like, ah man, my dog gone. Now some of them do come back on practice squad. So some of them will be back on practice squad, but it's never exciting. I mean, I've been cut plenty of times, and they never get any better,
Hmm.
So you try to put enough out there, put enough on tape, try to do the right things, and sometimes you come up short, and a lot of times it's a numbers game. Um, but ultimately, hey, the lesson is that you got to take advantage of the reps that you get,
Hmm.
So. I mean, that's what Dan Quinn was talking about. It's like, hey, you got to be able to be on the field to block. You got to block. Sometimes you can't just catch passes all day. So that's a part of it. You got to make plays when they come your way.
Now, what are those conversations usually like? Like, because we've seen like with Tenenbaum up in New York, it was just kind of like, oh, this is it. But like, is it more so them being like, look, we really want to be able to retain you. Like, we're hoping you don't get away from us. Or are there some guys who are like, I want to be able to go to a different situation? What is that kind of like?
Man, if they do want you back, they generally will say that. I've had the team say that. They're like, "Yeah, we want you around. We're not sure you're going to clear waivers." And they can try to do things to help you get there. Like when it gets to the waiver system, like you don't really have a choice.
Mm.
That first team that picks it, you're gone. But once the waivers pass, and you get to see some guys are making those choices of where they want to go. Um, but if you could really tell, like you think about a younger guy who's like, hey, you've making an impact, showing up, but they kind of hide some players. Let's be real, they'll hide somebody. They'll keep them off not let them ball too much in the game so they don't get too much noise, but they can stack them on that practice squad roster. So sometimes you will get those conversations to say, hey, we do want you to come back. We want to keep you around.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely some good insight there. Just kind of sticking with the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, we got Terry. They just added Noah Brown. We'll see what kind of contribution he makes to this offense going forward. But obviously, like we talked about, they traded away Dotson, and we're going to see if Diami can step up. But who do you think is going to end up being the second target for this offense? Do you think it's going to be Eckler with the dump offs and kind of how he can move him in the slot? Do you think it's going to be Zach Ertz with the safety blanket, or is it an unknown guy we're not really talking about right now?
Man, I think it's gonna be Zach Ertz will be your second guy. And then maybe sneakily, if like John Bates just shows that he's got this, uh, run after catch ability that makes him, warrant more targets. But I think it's going to be that tight end room. Like I said earlier, 1,300 and 10 plus touchdowns for Terry. That means I need him to get targets. You got to throw my man the ball, and you need to make sure you hit on that and get him his yards, man. Give him his respect. On the other side, Noah Brown coming in. You still got somebody with dreads at the other wide receiver position, so it's a different player. But I think, like I said, on that wide receiver two spot, it's just going to be by committee. It's going to be by committee. There's going to be a week where Luke McCaffrey may start. You know, Noah Brown may get to start 3 or 4 games, just depending on how he's playing. So Diami, I think, is going to start for a couple of games. So that part's going to rotate, but it is going to come down to getting to Zach Ertz. I think he's going to be a good safety valve for Jaden. And the only reason it won't be Eckler is just because he won't be on the field as many plays. He wants to split time right now as a running back room. I could see that being, you know, close to second. But overall, like individually, it's got to be Zach Ertz for me.
Yeah, and look, the makeup of the offense has been something everyone has talked about. Obviously, adding Noah Brown kind of strengthens the argument overall for the weapons provided to Jaden Daniels. But based on what they do have, Anthony, what do you think this and what we've seen in look preseason? Cliff is not doing all that much in the preseason. It's just more so of what can we see out of guys. But like
Yeah.
based on what we have, what you have seen, and what we know from Cliff's past, how do you think this offense is going to come out week one?
Man, I expect there to be a lot of creativity and formation. A lot of different movement. Um, the tempo, that tempo from the preseason, I feel like that's going to stay,
Mm,
right? So
the
when
up
you're
tempo.
Yeah, keep it up tempo, and then everything is going to be different than what you've seen in preseason. So they're going to be like, okay, hey, we got to work. Defenses are going to say we got to work against some read option. We have to go with some basic concepts, and they're going to go back and look at some old Arizona tape and try to come up with some stuff. But when you're coming out here, just like Joe Witt said, nobody knows anything about you. Nobody knows what you're going to unveil. So you have that opportunity to show up, kind of how I remember when the Wildcat broke out for
Mm,
Miami against New England. It was a point in that game that Tony Sperano looked over to the offensive coordinator and said, "Yeah, go ahead and do it," and then they unveiled it. That's how this offense can be. Maybe not Wildcat, but it's going to be something that's going to be a new look. And when you have that new look and you're going up tempo, the defenses can't catch up fast enough. Score some points on that ass. Run up the score. And by the time they figure it out, you could be well ahead. You got hail to the Commanders are playing in the building at what's the name of it? Northwest Stadium.
yeah.
Right? So you got Northwest Stadium in the first game against the Buccaneers
North,
with some
North.
tempo. I don't know if I can get used to the name. Let me ask you this, and you can ask your listeners this. You can only get to change one thing. Is it the name of the stadium or is it the name of the team? Which one y'all change?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Mm,
Uh, I would just say the name of the team, just because the name of the stadium to me is not like a big deal. Like it is what it is. I'm glad they found
Yeah.
a sponsor because
Yeah. Shout out
kind
to
of
Northwest Stadium, man.
yeah,
Yeah, ain't no
calling it Commanders
shade.
Field was kind of like, but yeah, definitely.
Say, felt
But
like
no, I
felt like a
mean,
generic created team.
I'm not like one of those people that's all like, oh, I hate the name, like I just want to win games, and I feel
Yeah.
like all that stuff will just take care of itself. But I mean, if I had to pick between the two, I would probably, I guess, say the name.
dude,
Okay. All
I'll.
right.
Nothing confuses me more than the infatuation with nicknames. Like immediately having to come up with a nickname for the stadium and everything like that. Like, why is that a thing? Like, can we just because generally nicknames just come, like they naturally just flow and you get like that. Those are the ones that stick. If you try to
Yeah.
force it, it's a different story. So, all I'll say is like if I had to change one, it'd probably be the name of the team just because my first bet always was Warriors. And
Yeah.
knowing this ownership group and how much they are attached to the past, and they obviously Josh Harris spoke to reporters early in the week, Anthony. He said there's no way we can go back to the old name. I'd be
Yeah.
I'm sure that they want to be able to bring back the old logo in some capacity and honor that. And obviously, I don't have a problem with Commanders. Honestly, I don't really care. But if you had a pointed gun to my head, I mean, I guess the stadium doesn't really matter. So I'll change my story. The stadium name, I guess.
Already, already. I went and pulled up Noah Brown's profile. Dude is 6'2", 2 1/4. All right, that's a big dude. That's a big dude, right? Yeah, the other McCaffrey's 6'2", I think Pringle's 6'2", but I don't think they're 225. So
Mm.
special teams impact, bigger body receivers in the red
And
zone comes into
productive.
play and productive. Yeah, I mean, what, 33 catches. His career, he's got 1,500 yards, 5 tubs. So I mean, he's been around. He's been around. So 33 catches last year. Shout out to Noah. What up, man? Welcome to the squad.
Welcome to the family, Noah. Now to wrap this up, Anthony, only a couple more questions for you, sir. Um, did you think that Adam Peters and company made any mistakes in constructing the 53 or the 70?
I don't think that they've made any mistakes. I think they have made uh I feel like you've hit on more than you haven't. But everything has kind of fit together and makes sense. The overall question is what's up with the defense, but we all know the defense is a defensive unit, right? Like you may have one star shutdown corner, and they were like, all right, well, we just won't throw it to him, and then we'll just go throw it over here and you can still get reamed and you know what I mean? So I'm interested to see how that defensive unit plays out because if you hit on Jeremy Chin, if you hit on, Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, like, who cares about the cornerback spot? Like that will come in time. So I think that the people up front, the big guys up front who they retained on the D line, the free agent acquisitions, moving Jamin to D end, all of those things are going to come in play. I can't say that they really made any mistakes right now. I think everything is just slowly moving ahead. It's just something to feel positive about. They haven't made mistakes just yet. You have to see if it comes down to the game against Philly and Jahan is getting active, that may be like the one where you like, you kind of got bit in the ass on that one.
Yeah, I just had to ask because people were on suicide watch because they didn't put in any waivers originally. Like it was like, calm down, dude. Everything's gonna be okay. Next question for you. Dan Quinn's presser today with Adam Peters talked about the identity of the football team, speed and physicality. So far through the preseason and what we have assembled here, do you feel that's fair to say that that is the identity? I still think that needs to be proven, obviously, come week one and into the season. But I think that for the most part, and I think that sticks.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it. I mean, look at how Tyler Owens is flying around on the
Right.
field. That's how he made the team, right? Speed and physicality. Dominique Hampton, speed and physicality. Jeremy Chin, speed and physicality. Like that's what they're going to hang their hat on. And I'm with it. They're going to be the hammer, not the nail this year. Bringing it to teams and showing them, hey, when you play against the Burgundy and Gold, you're going to lead black and blue. And I love
I
that.
like that,
I
man.
love that. You know what I mean? I love knowing that you're going to show up with that type of mentality, and it gets to the offense too. Like I think Sam Cosmi is going to probably lead that offensive line to be a very physical group, even if it's out of shotgun. They still gonna find a way to be active and pancake cats, and we'll see if we can get a Cosmi gritty going through the end zone again.
Yeah, and I would hope that Jaden Daniels doesn't do the gritty. Make up your own thing, be able to put that out there because we want to be the trendsetters. We don't want to follow suit. That's not what we do here in Washington. And one of the best quote, like I said it last night, it's just something I personally feel is that talent ceases when tired, but heart doesn't. And that's the one thing I think I took from Adam Peters saying about when he going back to New England, saying we're not just here to acquire talent, we're building a team was what the scouting notebook said, and I think I wholeheartedly agree with him in that aspect. Last question for you. The latest news that Brandon Coleman is going to be practicing tomorrow with no limitations whatsoever. Do you think that Brandon Coleman is going to be starting at left tackle week one?
I do. I think Brandon Coleman is your tackle. I think he's going to perform admirably. It's just like you got to wait for somebody to unveil their new car, and that's what Brandon Coleman is. I've hated that I haven't gotten to see it the whole time, but um, I'm so happy that he's healthy, and I'm glad they were being patient with it, right? Like,
Mm.
hey, no need to rush him back out there for the preseason. let the guy get healthy. If you believe in him athletically to be able to handle it on that left side, I think you're gonna be fine. But then I also think I was talking with Matt Sims about this. Jaden is going to be able to help him out a little bit with his ability to navigate the pocket. Like you don't have to be, you don't have to pancake everybody every time. You don't
Right.
have to, you don't have to just maul somebody every single play. A lot of times it's just like basketball, a little moving screen. Just stay in front of them for long enough because Jaden's making quick decisions, right? He hasn't shown that he's going to throw the ball or hold on to the ball. And then when he does, he fixes it quickly the next time. So I think Brandon Coleman is your starter. Shoot, when you looked on the Commanders website when Zach Selby would put the 53, he put the O lineman. When you look at it, it was Coleman, Allegretti, Beatis, Cosme, and Wiley. Left tackle, left guard. So I was like,
Yep.
that's your five.
Yep.
Gotta be. So that's how I think it rolls out. I think he does a pretty solid job. He's going to learn on the go, but that's how we do with TCU down here, these Texas football kids, man.
Yeah, I do like him a lot, and I do hope that he does start. Now, Anthony, I can't thank you enough for joining us. But before you get out of here, just like to plug your social media handle and your show, brother, just in case anybody watching
Absolutely.
hasn't followed you yet.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter, on X at Rated Armstrong, and also follow the show at Believe Commanders. Listen to Believe in Commanders. We got some content out there. If you just want to hear about Jaden Daniels and like other people's viewpoints that have known him from like afar, but like maybe in college and things like that. I got a lot of interviews up there on there. So everything's just been amazing about this kid. So check it out for me.
My man, Anthony, good luck with everything. I'm glad that you were able to close some of those deals and make
Yes,
everybody
sir.
happy,
Congrats
including
on all
yourself.
that, man.
Yes, indeed. I appreciate it, man. Now I can relax and I can enjoy Commanders football on Sundays.
My man. Have a great night, Anthony. We appreciate you.
Appreciate
See
it.
you.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Anthony Armstrong. Always appreciate Anthony's time here. It's funny because
That's my
I
guy.
had a question written out from with Jahan Dotson about that trade, and of course, he brought it up as a surprising move with the 53. I think we all kind of were. I mean, obviously, B. Mitch's point there was solidified. I think we can say that now. But it's funny to hear him bring that up, and say that was the biggest surprise.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you really like just take like an outside view of things, like 50-foot, 100-foot view of things, like going into the season, obviously everyone thought, like, okay, this is the chance for Jahan to bounce back. Like we're going to see similar to his rookie year, if not better numbers, and just uh just play by him. And then if you would have asked someone back in just when the season was over, they would have said, hey, Jahan Dotson's not going to be on this team come week one. You would have been like, give me my 401k, my savings, all the money I got, put it on. I bet you he will be on this roster, and I'd probably be homeless living on the streets right now. So
Yeah, and obviously the Commanders had netted a third-round pick and two seventh-round picks. One of those seventh-round picks went to go get Cade York from the Browns to bring in for kicker. The other one was also shipped with John Ridgeway to the Saints for a sixth-round pick. And credit to John Ridgeway for doing that. But I think Brandon Coleman starting at left tackle week one. What Anthony's comments on it probably seals it for me. Because we were asked this on Sunday, and I was like, dude, if he's not healthy, and not playing at all, it does kind of pull you back a little bit. But if it was withheld because of confidence, that makes you feel 10 times better, man.
yeah, no, I agree. And I just go back to what Dan Quinn said when the injury first kind of popped up and everyone was kind of questioning him about it. And I forget who the reporter was, but they asked him like, would you be confident in Coleman starting week one, even though he hasn't got any reps, as many reps throughout training camp because of the injury? He's not going against the joint practices. He's not playing in the preseason games. And he said yes. So I think that just proves that they have a lot of confidence in him. And like Anthony said, they were just kind of keeping him in bubble wrap so that he can get to practice sooner rather than later. And then he can start game planning, scheming, all that stuff, and get his reps next to Allegretti and get the cadence down with Jaden and whatnot. So, yeah, like Anthony said, he's going to be learning on the fly. But honestly, like everyone says, what better way to prep yourself and get better in NFL than to actually play NFL snaps? So, I'm glad that he's back practicing, and hopefully he'll be out there week one.
Yep, wholeheartedly agree with you, brother. And obviously, Andy Lockhart brought it up yesterday, like he was in the Discord, that he wasn't too sure about Brandon Coleman and The question that you have to ask yourself is Brandon Coleman excelling at practice and impressing the coaching staff based on our rushers not being as good as they are, like, and basically saying, like, when you go against other edge rushers, is it going to be a concern, right? And I do think that is a question that we have to warrant and look at. But speaking of, the Colonel has a question for us. He says, defensive end position, we traded Chase Young and Montez Sweat last year. We just cut KJ Henry, claimed by Carolina off waivers, or Cincinnati, and Andre Jones, who we brought back in practice squad. Are we really satisfied with our free agency acquisitions at defensive end, or are we just ate up at defensive end? And do we want a pass rush or not?
Yeah. If you're just looking at it from a name standpoint, then like obviously you're going to be a little bit underwhelmed because you don't have that. And I don't really even think that unless Dorrance Armstrong comes out and proves to be that guy, like obviously it'll proves to be shown. But I think that they don't have that guy that does walks on the field and it's like, okay, that guy can get me double digit sacks right off breaks. I know he's going to be good on the left or right side. He's going to get me double digit sacks. But I do think that just the way that Dan Quinn likes to, and Joe Witt by proxy, likes to move their linemen around, kind of put them in different positions. They're not going to. It's not just going to be like Del Rio, where it's like, okay, Montez and Chase, line up on your
Great
respective
point, sir.
sides
Great
and
point.
just get after the passer. It's going to be, hey, Dorrance Armstrong, line up on the right. Okay, next snap, line up on the left. Maybe you might be in a 3 technique the next snap. It's going to be Johnny Newton. Okay, you got the size and athleticism, line up on the edge, attack from the edge. Okay, line up in the 3 technique, line up over the center and get that inside pressure. So, and then obviously you got Luvu and Jamin Davis and then are going to be hopefully applying pressure as well, coming off the edges and blitzes and whatnot. So while I do wish that they had a Montez Sweat-esque type of guy on the roster that can potentially get you that double-digit sacks, we'll see what Dorrance Armstrong does. And I have faith, a little bit of faith until proven otherwise, that they're going to be able to manufacture a pressure through stunts, gains. Don't forget cornerback and secondary blitzes as well. So, I think that like Joe Witt said, like Cliff has said, no one knows what they're going to come out and do the first couple weeks of the season. So hopefully it'll be a surprise to Tampa Bay week 1 until everyone gets some film on them and adjusts.
I don't regret them trading Chase Young or Montez Sweat, especially now after Montez Sweat's comments about Washington, because apparently he's got that Caleb Williams nutsack chain down his throat. I'll say this, Colonel. I think they are satisfied with the defensive end position. I think it's very evident at this point by letting go of KJ Henry. I think they kind of feel very good about it, and I don't think it's more based on a talent standpoint from where they're coming from. I think it's much more so of the defensive structure and what they want to do at defensive end. You know, Dan Quinn has a long history with Dante Fowler. They know what's going to be asked of Clellan Ferrell and Dorrance Armstrong. They know what they want, right? And so I think that's probably where they're going with it. And I don't fault them for it. I think that when we get further down the line is when they're going to be adding that speed playmaker at defensive end, a high asset kind of guy where they add them in there. But for the time being, I think that if you're going to go with somebody who doesn't have that speed, you're going to go with somebody who knows your defensive structure, that knows what you want to do, is not going to complain and be a crybaby. Because if Montez Sweat felt like this a year ago, I'm glad that he's not on the squad. You know what I mean? I'm not looking back at that at all. I just think it's much more so of a structure aspect in my personal opinion.
I don't really hate on what Montez was saying just because, there was a lot of losing and there was a lot of people okay with losing. He was just telling the truth. Like, it was kind of toxic. People were okay with losing, but
Then
only thing I don't get is
enjoy
like,
your time in Chicago. Stop
and that's what I was
talking
going to say.
about it.
My whole thing is like, I get it. Like, but that whole regime, everybody's like new here. Everybody's gone. So it's like, I get you're trying to like prop up the Bears and kind of hype up the fan base. Like, hey, like it's better here. I'm all in for you guys and da 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 da. But like, kind of like Jahan too. It's like, really, like everyone knows you're kind of salty they got rid of you, but like, why you got to try to dunk on like, oh, they do things way differently. There's a different standard here. It's like, okay, I understand that if you're talking about the past regime, but like clearly this new regime has a whole different standard than Ron and the last guy. So like,
right.
But again, like you said, people like to talk about the Commanders in Washington in a negative light because it gets headlines and clicks. So
Yeah, and it's just the easy thing to say. How about you just shut up and go about your business, and how about you go keep getting double-digit sacks, and we'll see how it goes. The Bears are
Exactly.
definitely going to need it, and we'll see how that works out for you. I hope you do because they paid you a lot of money. I don't want to get pissed off anymore, man. Now, the next look, he's not wrong. He's not wrong for saying
I
what
don't
he's
want to get
saying.
pissed off anymore. Look, okay, look, man, I'm just saying, like,
He's not wrong for the way that he feels. Look, I'll just be honest. Obviously, it's just shut up. We get
yeah,
it. We know. We know, bro. Say something nice about Chicago without having to pile on. Like, stop kicking us when we were down, man. Like, stop it.
right.
Now, the next question we have is from Tony Franchise on Twitter. Good morning. Who were some cut players from other teams you wouldn't mind us going after on the waiver wire?
Brandon Coleman versus Montez Sweat is going to be nice come week whatever we play them. But
Give him a good karate chop in the throat when he comes
all
back. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
What was the question? Who's the cut player? What?
Cut players from other teams that you wouldn't mind us going after on the waiver wire.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like we talked about before, because I hadn't checked my phone prior to this getting on here. We signed Noah Brown. I definitely wanted him to go after a guy like Noah Brown, add to the receiver room. He's a guy that can help you in the run game because he's a physical blocker, and he's a guy that's gonna not wow you from game to game, but he'll have a game or two throughout the season where it's like he's getting 5 catches for 80 plus yards and a touchdown. So definitely adds to a room that, again, there's not a lot of high end talent behind Terry, but if you just look at,
Bunch of hard hat workers.
yeah, it's like kind of like what Adam Peters said. Like at this point in time, we're not about just acquiring talent; we're about building a team. So I think they're going to come at the wide receiver room, the defensive end room, kind of like a not just a hey, go out there and do it by yourself and kind of lead the pack. It's going to be like a total like team kind of room type thing. Like everyone kind of chip in and do their thing. But yeah, Noah Brown was one. I wanted the cornerback. I believe his name is Isaac. Last name is Isaac for the Tampa Bay cut. Had a really good camp, really good preseason by all accounts. Just crowded DB room, couldn't keep him on the roster, but Carolina went ham and claimed like 10 people. So what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure if they wanted him. They went and got Bobby Price, who obviously Newmark kind of knew from Detroit, 6'3" corner. That fits the bill of what they want, and that makes sense to me. Is there somebody that I would love for them to go after? Not really, dude. Like, this was my whole point. When people that around the team get so hyped up about this sort of stuff, you're just begging to be disappointed and to complain about something. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm at, like, where I don't know what's going to come down the pipeline. All I know is I'm putting my trust in them to make the right decisions. And at this point, I think they're doing a great job at it. They have given me no reason to not believe in them. So look, we're going to go forward. We're going to love everything that they do and hope that we're going to be able to win some football games because like Adam Peters said, we're not going to do things just to do them. And I think that was a little slight towards the BA saga in San Francisco, who's battling with an injury. And everyone, their mother was saying, well, you got to trade for him. Even Ocho Cinco, you got to trade for him. Probably not the best idea. So we'll see what's going on with San Fran and what's going on with that. But for me personally, on the waiver, I loved Caleb Farley coming out. And he has massive things that happened to him in his playing career. And obviously he was given the shorthand, a back deck of cards. That's somebody that's a first-round talent out of Virginia Tech. I love the kid coming out. When I did my pre-draft film breakdown, he actually responded to me on one of my criticisms of him. And so I think he's a really cool kid, man. And happy. I just hope that he's able to get on the squad and be able to produce for somebody because I know the kid is really good. Now, the next question on Twitter Hall from Jubs. Thank you, Jubs. James Jubane. He says, question because I don't know. Is NFL like fantasy football? Could they possibly be waiting to see who gets dropped after the first round of waivers? That way they get first pick of those, or do they get number 2 waiver every 24 hours?
Yeah, I think Adam Peters, someone asked him that question and he kind of answered it. And then John Keim tweeted it out. But they didn't claim anyone yet. They were number 2. But now that Carolina has gone through and claimed their guys or whatever, they moved to the back of the line, I want to say, because and then we move up to number 1. I don't know if they moved to the back of the line,
Are you
but
sure?
yeah, I think that John Keim tweeted out that they now have the number 1 waiver wire position because Carolina has gotten their claims and I don't. The waiver wire thing is weird how it works. I don't know. Like veterans, you can't claim veterans, but what is technically like a veteran? Like you got to have a certain amount of years to be a veteran in the
4
league. So
years.
Okay, well that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, all in all, to answer your question, I believe that between now and week three, they're number one priority on the waiver wire. And I know, like, obviously, fantasy football, you make a claim, then you go to like the back of the line, and then it goes through again. And if no one claims your second waiver, then you get that person as well. But I don't know. It's all confusing.
Look, from what I read, that's not a thing. From what I read is you have the number two priority until week three, and then it switches at the end of week three. It switches to your win total, but like you stay at that priority setting. I think that Adam Peters is more like saying that Carolina doesn't have any more room to cut anybody else, and so they're probably not going to be going after anyone else, and so like they're basically number one. Just the way I'm thinking, because from what I understand is that you stay there until the end of week three, regardless of what moves you make. It's endless how many you can make. So I'm confused by it. I looked it up. I tried getting this, James, and it's really confusing. But at the end of the day, like that's what I know about it. It's probably just a weird thing, honestly. What are you reading?
I'm trying to look for it now. Maybe it wasn't Kyle that tweeted it out.
Yeah, I'm looking at Kime's Twitter. I do not see that.
Yeah, maybe it was someone else. I don't know.
I,
Anyway, I don't know. It's confusing.
I think it's much more so because Carolina probably doesn't have any more room to cut anybody else. Is my personal opinion, because if you do that waiver claim, obviously they have to be
Yeah,
brought
yeah,
to your
yeah.
53.
And they okay, yeah, that makes more sense because you gotta those guys have to make your roster, so like they
Right.
got to cut more people, and then like yeah, so I guess I do know that we stay number two, or we're number two up till week three, but maybe I was just reading something wrong. I don't even know, but it would make sense that you stay number three or number two up until week three, and then it kind of reshuffles by your record and whatnot.
Right. And now let's go to the Discord for our fan questions, brother, to round up this episode. Tim Towner asks, if the practice squad is 17 and we're only at 12, what are depth areas that could be shored up? Maybe a backup kicker or a punter or a fifth quarterback. Are you still certain there is no way we are? He says thinking. I wonder if he was saying tanking.
No, I don't think they're tanking. If they were tanking, then they'd be moving like the guys like the John Allens of the world, the Terry McLaurins of the world to kind of get to try to get the best value possible for those guys, or maybe Deron Payne because he's younger and whatever stuff like that. So I don't think they're tanking. I think that like they've said from the beginning, this is a recalibration. They're figuring out what they have to kind of lay that foundation, and then next year is when they're hopefully gonna if Jaden shows that okay we can build around him, and if everyone thinks that he is what everyone thinks he's going to be. Okay, let's go out and add a left tackle, or not a left tackle, but let's go out and add a right tackle in free agency. Let's go out and add a lockdown cornerback to kind of take half the field away, or whatever it might be. I think next year is when they're going to spend money and kind of do what San Francisco did, where they brought in or they made a trade for Trent. They brought in this free agent, that free agent. So, yeah, I think that. What was the first half of the question again?
My bad. Of course, it moves over. If we're only at 12, what are depth areas that could be
Oh yeah,
shored up?
depth pieces. Yeah, I think they're at 12. They still got five more spots. Yeah, I think it'll be probably some depth on the defensive line because right now on the active roster there's four guys. So I think it'll be some defensive line, maybe a depth added to the practice squad. Uh, they have a lot of corners and safeties right now. Yeah, I'd say probably in the trenches is probably for the most part is what you'll see them added.
And I think linebacker as well. They also were able to get Jalen Graham, who was waived by the 49ers, who was obviously with them. Linebacker, of course, is probably a good one because Jordan McGee is on short term IR at the moment. So I think that's another one. But I think you're absolutely right about the interior of the offensive line or on the outside. I think that'd probably be a good idea if somebody of very good value is let go. You feel really good about that. Go ahead and plug away. Next question from Scott Hartley. Over under 5 roster moves by the time we get to Wednesday of week 1. Also, rank the positions you would target with the number 2 waiver claim. For me, it's offensive line, cornerback, and wide receiver. I'm sure wide receiver would change now.
Yeah, I think wide receiver will change now. I'd probably, like I just said, I think the trenches is what they're mostly looking at, and I'd probably say lean a little bit more to the defensive line just because they just traded away Ridgeway. You got the four guys that are on the active roster, and we'll see how they fill it out behind them. And over under 5.5 by next Wednesday is the beginning or day before the season. They've already made one with Noah Brown. They got to fill out the practice squad to get to 7. Well, they don't have to, but 17. So I'd probably say I'll go over just because they already added
I
Noah
agree.
Browns. That's one move, and then you can fill out your practice squad to 17. They have 12 right now, so 5 + 1, 6. So I'd say yes. I'll take the over on that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And before we get any further, dude, salute to the best backup quarterback in the league, Mr. Marcus Mariota. You are now in my good graces. He switched his jersey number. He's wearing 18. Sainristil is now rocking 0, which
Yes,
should have happened.
sir.
I'm like I said this a while ago, man. You know, you're wearing 0 because no one believes in you. Well, I'm taking it literally. You know, but now you've changed it to Peyton Manning's number. You're the best backup in the league now, Marcus. I'm glad that you're here in Washington. I'm very happy that
Marcus
you're.
Manning.
Yes, I'm so happy that you are the backup quarterback now. Let's just move on. We can now. Everything is right in the world. Let's move forward. I would say over. And if I had to like rank the positions, I do think like it's weird because I feel like they are comfortable with where they are, and that's why they didn't make any waiver claims. Is because they feel
And
comfortable with where they are.
yeah, and to your point, I forget who asked the question, but I was listening to like the response on the way home coming from work, and he was basically like saying that like they didn't make any waivers, like the scouting staff and the front office department kind of they scoured through the waiver wire list, and they didn't see anybody that was like worth putting in the number 2 waiver claim for, and they wait till they got through the process, and obviously they signed Noah Brown in free agency, but he made like a slight comment about like how they were like how the scouting staff was like really getting the players and like through the draft and like on the waiver wire that they like the coaching staff likes and like wants and the type of player that they want. And he said at the end of it, like we've actually done it a lot faster than I thought we would. So to your point, I think he has a lot of confidence in what they have built as of right now. And like I think he's like they're a little bit farther along than what he thought they would be coming into the beginning of the season. So hopefully it's not just like the GM kind of coach talk thing, and he really means that. We'll see come week 1.
Yeah, I think that they have a great relationship. I don't think there's any kind of screw ups in that regard. Like I think they're being honest with us
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and saying what they truly feel. And I think that based on the circumstances permitting, they feel really comfortable with where they're at. And they didn't want to go down the road of having to unload somebody on their 53 because I truly do believe getting down to that 53 was difficult for them. I truly believe that. And I think a guy like Tariq Castro Fields is one of those guys that they probably didn't want to have leave, but obviously Carolina scooped them up, of course. But it's like one of those things where it's like they're not like looking forward and replacing somebody on the 53. I think it was hard to get down to that number, and they are like, look, we don't want to walk away from these guys without getting something in return, i.e. John Ridgeway. And then they go and scoop up Noah Brown, right? And so I think that the reason for the timetable makes sense, in my personal opinion, in that regard. Now, the next question that we have, this one is from Arch. Do you think C-Rod becomes a stash on practice squad as a fullback?
No, I don't think he kind of fits the kind of style of running back that they want. They already have the kind of bruiser and Brian Robinson, and they kind of got that change of pace scat back in Eckler, and then they kept McNichols, who can kind of do what Eckler does as well. Um, and then I forget who it was on the radio, saying that it's one of his people inside the building that he talks to was saying that it wasn't just Dotson that was out there with the bad body language because he wasn't really getting the reps and whatnot. And he kind of felt, I guess, salty that a guy like McNichols, who they just brought in, was getting more work than him over a guy like him who's like been there already for a year, whatever, kind of established, whatever. So um, it's possible, but fullback thing, I don't think he's going to come back as a fullback. But if he comes back maybe as like a practice squad running back or something like that, yeah. But I also think they would bring back Wiley over Rodriguez to the practice squad as a running back.
I'm pretty sure they brought both of them back on the practice
Oh, did
squad.
they?
Yeah,
Oh, good for him then.
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, what I'm looking at, they did. So Sam Hartman, Jalen Graham, Bryson Tremaine, Julian Good Jones, Mitchell Tinsley, Bobby Price, Andre Jones, Cole Turner, Michael Wiley, Chris Rodriguez, Hagai NWZ. Oh my, I'm probably butchering that. Sheldon Day, Shikozy, and Kaz Allen brought back on the practice squad. So that's what I'm looking. The way I'm looking at, I'm not sure if it's purely a fullback because maybe in like for practices that would make sense to replicate the fullback. But like in my personal opinion, based on the pre-draft eval, somebody like Ben Sinnott is perfect for that sort of realm. Or John Bates, you could even go to that extent, being because he's like a lineman. So if you have that big MFer running towards you at 6'6", 250 pounds as a fullback, that's insane. And also receiving out of the backfield, that's a plus. But Chris Rodriguez, I mean, really performed as a receiving back in that last game, and so I'm not sure if they would be strictly for fullback, but I think that they kind of can see that he has a running style that you don't want to just like walk away from, and he produced in a short spurt, and that's somebody you want to have at your disposal. Now, the next question from Arch: what made you pump your fist this week? Not like Reed's pumping of a fist. Yank off.
I guess if I had to pick one thing, probably the Noah Brown signing, just because I felt like they needed to add just another guy to kind of contribute, to be a contributor for this room. And he was the top of the list as far as like the guys, if they were going to add a receiver, he was at the top of my list for guys I wanted them to kind of bring in. So I would say I pumped my fist for Noah Brown.
It's so easy to appease, you know. You and everyone else was
I'm a simple
screaming.
man.
I know, but you and everyone else was screaming about Brandon Ayuk adding somebody on the opposite, Terry, bringing in weapons, and it's like we bring in Noah Brown. And everyone's like, all right, we're good. We're
No, I'm
straight.
not saying we're good.
No,
I'm not saying we're
I'm just,
good.
it is
Yeah.
funny. It's funny.
Yeah,
That's all I'm
I
saying.
just want them. I still want them to add another guy because if I'm Terry McLaurin, again, like I said, I love what they're building. I love the new staff. Da,
Terry's
da, da,
happy.
da, da. But like, why would I want to stay around if y'all just never seem to give me? And it's not their fault. They just got here, obviously. But I'm just
Terry
saying,
wants to
like,
win, baby.
okay, but that's what I'm saying. If a winning team, like,
Terry gonna win, man.
I don't know, a Super Bowl contender comes calling, like, hey, we want to offer you a first round pick or second round pick for Terry,
Terry's
they
gonna
probably
tell him to
wouldn't
kick
do it.
rocks.
They probably wouldn't do it. But I'm just saying, in general,
You see
if
that new
my
basement he
contract,
has? That new basement he has in his house? He's
yeah.
not going anywhere, bro.
We'll see. But I'm saying he's still here till 2025. I'm just saying in general, like
He's not going anywhere.
they didn't. They're not adding to the wide receiver room to like help wise, like big name wise this year. If they don't do it next year, if I'm Terry and after 2025 my contract's up, I'm like, all right, peace. Like y'all ain't doing nothing to help me actually win games, get to a championship. So peace.
What made
It's a
me pump?
passing league.
What made me
You can
pump
just
my
score
fist this
points.
week was Mariota changing his number. That's what made me pump my fist this week.
That is a
I'm
good
not
one.
kidding
That's
you,
true.
dude. But also was the fact that they retained Cole Turner. I know how badly Cole Turner wanted it, man. He's been working hard. You know, we interviewed him back in February or March, and he talked about working on his run blocking, and he did in his blocking in general. He bulked up, worked really hard, and it's one of those things where nerves, the stress of it all gets to you, trying to prove yourself. And like catching was never an issue with Cole, you know. And so obviously in this preseason, he had a lot. He felt like he had a lot to prove, and you can just see it. You know those hiccups, dude. You know what you're going through when you're in that stress kind of level where you want everything to go right, but as much as you want it to, it's like quicksand from
Yeah.
uh, from the
You're
replacements.
you're a replacement. Yeah, you're just thinking too hard about I got to make a play. I got to
Yeah,
make a play. I got to make a play. And then when the play comes your way, you don't make the play because you're thinking too hard about it.
right.
So
It's hard to kind of put yourself in that sort of scenario if you haven't been in it before. But like in your line of work, I'm sure there's other people can kind of resonate with that. Next question from Deluxe: what made you roll your eyes this week, Hall?
the comments from Jahan Dotson when he's like, they have a different standard here and they just do things differently here. Well, I would hope so. It's Philadelphia. Why would they want to be copying a team, a bottom basement team like Washington that supposedly you just came from? But yeah, I'll just say Jahan Dotson's comments. That was my guy, man. I'm kind of disappointed in him.
Yeah, it's really funny how Philadelphia is on a whole nother level from us, but apparently they like taking all of our players. They've
Yeah.
picked up 3 players from us that we have waived or released, and that they've scooped them up. I wonder why, Howie. I wonder why. But
Mhm.
I'm old enough to remember where not all the draft picks pan out, but apparently trades is what wins you the glory, so to speak. So hopefully it works out for him, man. I can't wait to punch them in the mouth just to be able to do it. What made me roll my eyes this week was the damn naming of the stadium and the comments that I
Uh,
saw. Like,
Yeah.
no disrespect to Nikki Giovanni. She's really cool, man. She is. But her co-signing JP's the Fed, like, please stop. Take that around back and shoot it. Please stop that, dude.
Someone said the bank. I was like, that's literally the Ravens. Like they nicknamed the Ravens Stadium.
Yeah, I know. It's insane. But the other comment from Nikki was, they're Northwest, but they're on the East Coast. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, how old
I
are
give
you?
her a pass because she's just trying to like make a joke about it. Someone like Darren Ravel, who just like constantly is like dunking on the team, and he's like, "Huh, so the team is in the East Coast and they're in the Northwest," and whatever he says, some stupid kind of what he thought was like a ha 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 in his head was like the dumbest thing I've ever read in my life. But
Like, that's that guy in high school who thinks he's funny, you know?
yeah,
And just like,
and everyone's
okay,
like,
man.
"Ah, yeah." They gave you the courtesy laugh, like, "Ah, yeah," and as soon as you leave, it's like, "Why?" I just want to smack that dude. Like, why are you talking?
Well, it's a guy like JP saying, well, what are we going to call it? NW FC? What are we going to do? Like, why is that a thing? It's just the naming of this. Somebody bought the rights to the
I
stadium.
mean, at the end of the day, like you said, the ones that are the nicknames that are trying to get forced are the ones that end up coming the worst of the nicknames. It has to be a naturally grown thing. Let someone that's smarter than you, JP, let think of the nickname.
I was telling them in the chat, dude, I was like, he could not contain his whiteness. When they released that stadium name, dude, he just had to come out with the most white takes possible. Like, what do we call it now, guys? Like, who cares? It's just a stadium name, bro. Let's go. Like, cut days tomorrow. Let's worry about that. Why do you worry?
Right.
I'm happy for the team because obviously they needed the after FedEx kind of dragged them through the mud and everything and made life difficult. Like that one guy on Twitter that Reed had quote tweeted about saying like, this is not the same team. Like they're
Yeah.
walking away, blah blah blah, all sort of stuff. It's like, dude, that's Fred Smith's
It's
burner.
like, why take the money? You're not going to accept millions of dollars? What?
The,
What are you?
they put up $6 billion to buy the team. Like, why take the money?
Why take the money?
What?
Because they're offering you money. If someone offers you $10, you're going to be like, or if someone came up to you randomly and was like, "Hey, man, like, here's $10,000. I'm offering you $10,000." No, man, I have principles. I'm standing. No, you're going to be
Yeah.
like, hell yeah, thank you, bye.
Yeah, the next time that your company comes over and offers you a Christmas bonus check,
Right.
make sure you say no to that. I want to make sure of
Right.
it. Like, as much as you want to talk about billionaires and all that other stuff, it's not like they're like having what they had before, dude.
Right.
This was one of the things that we knew was going to roll down the pipeline. So what made me roll my eyes this week was definitely that, man. I just thought that was so whack. It's like, why are we so infatuated with nicknames?
We just need to get to week one, man. That's all it is.
I
Like,
know, man, but it's not like there's
people just running
nothing.
out of stuff to complain about. We
It's
just got to
not
get
like
to
there's
week one.
nothing happening right now. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of news right now,
Look,
and this is what we're
we've
doing.
had 20 we've had 20 years of off the field headlines and a little bit of like exciting stuff on the field headlines. So like when people see stuff off the field, they can't help themselves. We need to get to week one.
Can't
We need
help
to
myself.
hopefully be good, and we can just talk about on the field stuff and not the naming rights. And they play in the Northwest, but they're the East Coast, and there's a joke in there somewhere, right? No, there's not actually. So
I know you want to make a joke that badly, but it can't be forced, man. Just please stop. North. Now the next question
I'd
we
rather
have.
call it that than the
That's what I'm
Fed or
saying,
whatever he's
dude.
saying. Like
Project Pat, let's get that going, dude. Right
they
there,
better
right
be
there,
playing some
dog.
Project Pat first come
Don't
week two.
hold into walls.
I'm gonna,
Next,
I'm gonna message that Jeff Too Funny dude. I think he's the DJ for that week. I'm gonna be like, yeah, play some Project Pat. North.
North. Now the next question we have is from Andy Lockhart. What are your thoughts on this team considering the lack of waiver wire pickups? Are you happy to go into week one the way the team is right now? After Noah Brown, he's ecstatic.
Yeah.
He's fulfilled. I'll tell you
Look,
that
like
right
I've
now.
said before, I feel like I understand the whole they want to do the long term thing. They're trying to lay the foundation. Blah, 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 blah. My whole thing is you have the rookie quarterback, you have the rookie contract. Why try to drag out the process when you only have 5 years to put as much talent around him while the cap number is low? So like, why not try to add talent, do this, do that around your quarterback and around your team to make them as successful as possible? But like I just said, looking back on the San Francisco model when they first got there to 2017 with Adam Peters and John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, they kind of laid the foundation for 2 years while being competitive. And then that third year, once they got Debo Samuels, Fred Warner, Mike McGlinchey, they had those foundational pieces. They got to the Super Bowl, and they've been winning ever since. So I'm just like, I don't want to wait another 3 years. I'm just so tired of waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. I just don't want it to be 3 years until they're like, hey, we're finally winning 9 games. We're like on the plus side of 500 of like winning games now. Like, I know it's a process. You got to learn how to win. It's a whole new regime, a whole new staff, a lot of like young players, a lot of 1 year contracts. I get that. I just want to win. I'm just tired of losing. I'm tired of being the butt of all the jokes. Like, I just want to win.
You know I love you, but all I'm going to say is all I heard for the past 5 to 6 years is that all you need is a franchise quarterback. All
Yeah.
you need is a franchise quarterback. You're a contender, and that's what's going to. And as soon as we get that franchise quarterback, now it's you have to supply that franchise quarterback with weapons. Like, wait a minute here.
Well, no,
Can
my
we?
argument was
No,
always,
not you, just everybody.
yeah.
I'm just saying, can we just be happy? We well, like, I understand that we still have to see what's going on with Jaden Daniels. If he is the franchise guy looking for, we all know the bad things that can happen. All these teams think they have the franchise guy. I totally get it. I do. Can we just be happy, please? And understand that a weapon is not purely a wide receiver. A weapon is also a tight end, i.e. Kansas City, i.e. San Francisco, proven that many, many times. Running back, another piece. Brian Robinson, like Adam Peters said in his presser, a very underrated running back / receiver out of the backfield. Adding Austin Eckler. Look, you could talk about him being on his last leg and everything. That's still a weapon for Jaden Daniels. You have Terry McLaurin here. Do you need to have top tier weapons at the wide receiver position to win in the National Football League? In my personal opinion, you do not.
Unless you have a top 3 to 5 quarterback like a Josh Allen, and we'll see with Josh Allen because he just got rid of Steph Diggs and Gabe Davis and all them. So we'll see what he does because before he had Stephon Diggs, people were talking about he might be a bust. Same thing with Joe Burrow. He had T. Higgins. T. Higgins is a pretty good wide receiver. They got Jamar Chase. They're in the Super Bowl.
What
Brock
I
Purdy.
hate
He's the
this
last pick in the
example.
draft.
I know, I understand, but I hate that example with Cincinnati because one thing that we have to consider here is that Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine helped that offense
Oh,
immensely, and
for
that's
sure.
not.
I'm just talking about the outside
It's
pieces, like
very
the receivers.
underappreciated how productive they were and made things easier for Joe Burrow. Without that running game, I don't think they are doing what they're doing on offense.
Even look at Pat Mahomes. His second year in the league, first year starting, he threw 50 plus touchdowns. That's because he had Tyreek Hill, he had Travis Kelsey, he
He's an
had.
alien.
I know, but my point is, like earlier, like we talked about, like yes, the running game is important. Yes, the defense obviously is important, but it's a passing league. You need to score points. Points are, for the most part, scored through the airs on explosive plays. We don't really got explosive players outside of Terry McLaurin. Is my point. So like that's why I'm always like, yes, obviously quarterback's most important. But if you have a young quarterback on that rookie deal, that was my whole argument from the beginning. It's like, yes, you need a franchise quarterback, obviously, but I wanted them to have a rookie franchise quarterback so that you could build around him.
In my
And then
personal,
as he grows, then like kind of Pat Mahomes, obviously he like took the league by storm, but I would say like Josh Allen, just he took those steps, got a dominant receiver, and Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox and all these other pieces. All of a sudden, they've just rocket ship off. So that's why I'm like, even like the Bears, we made fun of. That was the one team we could like lay our hands on. Like the Bears, they're just as bad as us. The Browns, just
still
as
gonna
bad
make
as
fun
us.
of him.
Of course, but like I'm just saying, like even the Browns, even the Bears, even like all these other teams, where it's like I just want to be one of the teams where they get a rookie quarterback and it's like, okay, let's build around this rookie quarterback and like take advantage of it. Not like, well, let's wait like 3 years and then by year 4, hopefully we're competing. And year 5, we gotta pay him a contract or pick up his option. And then by year 6, we got to dismantle the team because we got to pay him all this money. And it's like, did we really kind of take advantage of the contract that we had for those 5 years? You know what I'm saying? So
I got
that
you.
was all my whole point.
What I'd say here is if Alex Smith stayed as a starting quarterback for Kansas City, Travis Kelsey is not who he's thought of today. If Pat Mahomes is not drafted to Kansas City, Travis Kelsey is not what he's known for today. Tyreek Hill is not known for what he is today. What really boomed up that offense was the combination of Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes together. And that's why they were so okay with walking away from Tyreek Hill. They knew that they had the combo that they truly needed. And my point being is, just because they're not considered weapons today does not mean that they won't be weapons in the future.
Oh yeah, I know. Of course. Look
Right.
at
That's my whole
Houston
point.
last year. Like Tank Dell, or
Right.
not Tank Dell, but Nico Collins was like I knew who
Right.
Nico Collins was because I'm a Michigan fan. You knew who he was because you know what I'm saying. Like you did a scouting report on him and whatnot.
Him
But
and Tank Dell.
yeah, outside of Houston and like a couple of people here and there, like everyone looked at Tank Dell. Look at his numbers the first couple of years. It's like, all right, Nico Collins, like you're mid at best, as the kids say. All of a sudden, you get the
Wasn't Tank
quarterback.
Dell a rookie last year?
That's what I'm saying, Nico Collins.
Yeah.
And then all of a
Okay.
sudden, CJ Stroud steps in there like a legit quarterback, and Nico Collins is a Pro Bowler. He's getting a new contract.
Right.
Tank Dell, a rookie, comes in, sets the league on fire before he gets injured. So, like, I know the quarterback elevates the pieces around you. I know that, like, you know what I'm saying? But my thing is,
You don't want to waste the time. I got
yeah,
it.
and that's what I'm saying. That's why I said, like, this year I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. It is what it is. But, like, next year, if you're not, like, adding, like Houston, they added Daniil Hunter on defense. They went out and added Steph Diggs, more weapons for CJ Stroud. Dalton Schultz is coming into his own in Houston right now. So I just like, you just got to build assets around the quarterback. Look at San Francisco. Everyone talks about like, oh, is Brock Purdy elite? I don't know. They have so many weapons around them that it's like, that's what I want our offense and our team to be eventually. I know it takes time. Obviously, it takes drafts, it takes moves here and there. But again, I know I make fun of these people all the time about crying about like, oh, all we do is lose. I just want to win. I'm just so tired of losing. I just want to win.
I'm with you, man. And I'm just my personal opinion. You don't need to have those elite kind of outside guys in order to win. I do think that, but we don't need to get into this. We're already past the point. But yes, I am very happy with where we are going into week 1, Andy. Look, as much as it is about everything, I love the direction of the football team. I love the way that they're going about executing it. They're doing everything with purpose. They've lined a lot of things up, and as much as we would like to pick and prod because of the years past, as much as Montez Sweat and Jahan Dotson would like to point fingers at us and have fun with it, at the end of the day, you're gonna have to play us, and I hope that identity sticks, and I hope that we come out week 1, week 2, fired up and punching people in the mouth. That's what I am truly focused on. I want that identity going, because if you're able to do that, everything else falls into place. If you're able to run the ball fundamentally well, like we've seen in the preseason thus far, a lot of great things can happen for you. Your defense is well rested. Your play action's working. Your wide receivers are getting more separation. You have an accurate quarterback who can put the ball in very precise locations. You're cooking with gas. And I'm not sure what's going to go on for this season. I would love to be able to see them go far, but we don't want to put those expectations on them. Just go out there and have fun, and let's win some football games as much as we can. Just give it everything you got, All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And we'll see you guys again on Sunday. Thank you for Anthony Armstrong for coming on, giving us some great insight, of course, as always. Love Anthony. He's one of our favorite guests. All right, everybody. Sure, we'll see you on Sunday.
Hopefully come to a game sometime soon, man. I'm trying to kick it with him for like a game or something.
And if he travels back, he's killing in the real estate game.
I know. That's why he's got to be like one of those alumni days where hopefully he comes back and we can get out there again.
Yeah, he'll definitely want to hang out with you. All right, everybody. Yeah. We'll see you again on Sunday. Washington football. Woo! Peace. What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.